and welcome back. As mentioned earlier, our first conversation this morning is with our friends from the Belize Forest Department. They're here to talk to us about illegal parrot ownership in Belize. Joining us this morning is Forest Officer Victoria Che. Good morning.
Good morning.
And accompanying her is Nikki Buxton. She's the Director of the Belize Bird Rescue.
Good morning.
Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have a few basic questions I want to get out of the way right away, right?
Okay.
So, I grew up with a lot of family and friends who own parrots, right? And, you know, you have a parrot in a cage, and as a child, you go to the parrot, and the parrot repeats what you say, and it's a fascinating experience, right? But as an adult, I'm learning that you're not supposed to keep parrots. Is that correct? Are we there with that?
Yes.
Okay. Let's begin with the basic reason why.
Okay, so we have 9 species of parrots. All of them are protected. Some have a higher level because they're critically endangered, or they're endangered here. And so that's one of the reasons we shouldn't have parrots. For scarlet macaws, we keep saying we only have a population of about 300. For yellowheads, we don't have an exact figure, but
12 to 1600.
so 12 to 1600 for the population. It might sound like a lot, but like you rightly said, if everybody in Belize owns a parrot, or you have half of the population owning a parrot, then your population obviously goes down. And so that's one of the reasons why you should not have one. Also, because they actually belong in the wild, and it's, you clearly said, it's fascinating to have a parrot in cages, but most of the time we don't take care of them.
Yeah.
And so most of the time they don't survive. And so next year, let's say you get one this year, it might not survive. You will feed it, you give it the wrong food.
The nuts. Give it some peanuts.
You give them peanuts, you give them takis.
Yeah.
You give them chicken sausage, you give them all types of stuff. They don't make it for the first year. Then the following year, you see people selling again, you go and buy another one. And so that goes depleting our populations. And so that's one of the major reasons why we shouldn't have them, because honestly, we can't take care of them.
Yeah. You know, I love that you opened it in that way, speaking personally to your experience, Isani, because that's the reality. I remember my first close-up experience with a parrot. It was in a cage too, you know, seeing it owned by someone and being completely fascinated by it. Of course, there are other people who would collect different types of birds as well. But in general, I think we should be speaking about the types of lives that these animals are designed to live, and the reason why they should be roaming freely, aside from being endangered as well. When we look at Belize's situation when it comes to protecting birds, what are policies in place to ensure that they are protected, and that persons have to meet that need or meet that standard? I know there is a manual that comes out annually. Can we talk about that?
Okay, so you rightly said again, all birds in Belize are protected by law. So all birds. I like to go and do presentations, and the first thing I say is all birds are protected by law. So people would raise their hand and would say, how about the jankro? I keep telling them, is a jankro...
We need to get protected from jankro.
Yes, but I say, I ask them this question, is a jankro a bird? Yes. So what did I just say? All birds are protected by law. And so that's basic. All birds are protected by law in the country. When it comes to parrots, and I will bring it back to what Sani asked. Back in 2014, we actually started this initiative where we started to ask the public to come in and register their parrots. This is since 2014. And we set a deadline. I think we set for this 2016. We said you have 2 years to come in and register your parrots, and so you can legally because it's illegal to own one. But we're trying to legalize it because we know a lot of people do have them as well. And yes, some don't take care of them, but then some of them do take care of them and their companions. And so we said, okay, let's do that. We can't confiscate all of them. We were trying to confiscate all of them, but we hit a wall. And we said we can't confiscate all of them. So let's start a program where we can register them. And so since 2014, we've had this program to come in, come in and register. But we've been moving that deadline over and over and over for quite some years. And I will say maybe it's because the forest department didn't have the measures to actually do the implementation. We couldn't do all the inspections. We didn't have a proper database where we could have all these applications and know who is applying on what stage you are. And I think we've upped our game since 2014. We've compiled all the applications we have so far. We know who's pending, who has a parrot, who doesn't have a parrot. And so that's the stage we are in right now. So what we're doing with it is that we're advising the public, if you have a parrot, come into the office, try to make it legal. Come in, apply. That's the first step. Come in, apply. After you apply, we will do an inspection, and I think Nikki will speak about it. Because during the inspection and with the manual, it will tell you what cage size based on species. What species you have, you need to have this cage size, and it goes back to diet, what you feed them. And the manual is very important, because if you go through the manual, you will see that it's a guide for enforcement officers, but also for the forest department. That will tell you if a bird, what are the signals or what are the warning signs to see if a bird is actually sick, if there's a young parrot. Obviously, people say when it don't have feathers, that one chick, but it's not only that. You can see them based on the eyes, some of the feathering, the coloring. You will know, even when they're sick. You will know if you see a yellow parrot that should be green, obviously it's sick, they have poor diet. And so that's one of the reasons why we came up with that manual, because that manual will help, especially enforcement officers, to know if a parrot needs help. They obviously can speak and tell you I'm sick, but based on this manual, you can go through the manual, you will see these early signs, and you can get the parrot the help that they need.
Let's go to Nikki for a second here and talk about parrots from a bird rescue perspective. In terms of perhaps getting a call to go and inspect a premises where you have a bird that's in distress or being neglected or what have you.
We actually are not part of the enforcement agency. That belongs to the forest department. But we often get calls from people who say, I would like some help, I'd like some advice, I'd like somebody to come and tell me what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right, how I can improve things. Or they say, we don't want this bird to be in captivity anymore, we want him to have a better future, we want him to go back in the wild, what can you do to help? So that's kind of our role alongside the forest department, to give them a mechanism for confiscation and a mechanism for surrender and a happy ending for the bird.
Do you guys have...
How do you rewild a bird that's been in captivity for basically all its life?
It takes a while. Basically, we have giant enclosures and we build flocks of parrots of their own species, and we gradually introduce these birds who've probably never seen a member of their own species before, and introduce them to these flocks. They become part of the flock, part of the family, and then after a series of maybe between 2 and 5 years, we can release them. It does take a long time, especially if they're talking and they've had poor feather and poor diets.
I have in my hand here the Forest Department's Inspection Manual 2025, and it's very, very interesting just seeing the different types of parrots that exist here in Belize, the assessment checklist, as you mentioned, the health and confiscation guide. What I'm curious to know is, do you guys collect any kind of data on perhaps owners, registered owners of parrots in certain parts of the country, like seeing maybe what district has more owners of parrots, and what types of parrots are people actually owning more than others as well?
Yes, and that's the reason I had said that we didn't have that back in 2014, but now we do have that data. So the districts that have the most parrots in captivity would be Belize district and Orange Walk district.
Really?
So those are the districts that have the most applications, and most people want the yellowhead parrots.
I was just about to
So
ask.
most people, their thing is the yellowhead parrots, because again, they believe they attack, but they don't attack, they mimic. And so that's one of the species that people target every year. And so that, and I think the blue mealy also does some mimicking, and so and they grow bigger than the normal than the other parrots. So they want a big parrot that can speak, and so that's what they go after. They don't really want the small little ones.
I know the conversation today, we want to specifically focus on the registration period and the time that people should be registering their birds, but I want to look really quickly at health and confiscation and just by observation, when you should know that you should take your bird in or when it should be confiscated. It says here handling. If the bird is not hand tame, it should be confiscated immediately. Now, hand tame means it allows calm handling without distress or injury. Do you guys find commonly that there are birds acting aggressively because of perhaps not being taken care of properly?
Yes, we do have a lot of cases that people say, and like again, if you want a parrot, you want it as companion, or you want it to feel like it's a part of your family, then you should be able to at least hold this parrot. But sometimes you can't hold them, you can't touch them, you can't do anything with them. They're literally just in their cage and they've never been touched. They've never been handled. And when you get close to them, they become a little aggressive and they want to attack. And sometimes if you have kids around, all kids will come, and if you have an aggressive parrot, the first thing is that they feel they need to hit the cage to it so that they can calm down the parrot. That's not.
That's true.
You're aggravating.
You're aggravating it. You're abusing it. That in that sense. So that's one of the things that we ask, that you can be able to take your parrot, handle it, and show us that you actually have a connection with this parrot.
There's also a point here: parrots under 12 months old, so you shouldn't have a parrot younger than a year.
Yes.
No baby parrot.
No babies.
No chicks. No chicks.
Obvious visible injuries. That one I think is plain. There's also severe feather or skin problems, serious hygiene or nutrition issues. Now this is specific: poop on feathers, caked under tail, extremely thin, or even overweight. So you can overfeed your parrot as well.
Let's step back just for a second and talk about the diet of a parrot. So a lot of us would probably have a parrot at home in a cage. What do we feed them? Because you mentioned earlier, we're going to fire with the takis and the chicken sausage thing. So
but that happened for true?
I'm not saying no. What do they ideally eat once they would be out in the wild?
They would forage throughout the forest for whatever fruits and seeds, berries, flowers, nuts. Even chewing leaves and bark gives them nutrition. Whatever is in season, they will travel and find the appropriate diet in the wild. We at Belize Bird Rescue, we can't completely replicate that diet because we can't fly from tree to tree and bring them back what they need. So we give them a variety of fruits and vegetables, chopped vegetables, any fruit that's in season. Bananas and papaya are standard as well. And we also cook beans for them because that has a high protein without being overloaded with the fat. Sunflower seeds and peanuts are the one thing that people tend to feed their parrots a lot of here. And it's very, very high in fat. And when you have a bird that's in a cage and not flying, particularly if somebody's clipped their wings and they can't even flap or move around or anything, then they're going to get overweight. They're going to have heart problems, the same as any human. Heart disease and strokes and things like that. Parrots get all that too.
Wow.
We're seeing on screen there, is that a bird with clipped wings?
Yes.
Are there penalties involved for something like that? I mean, I can't imagine you having a bird and you know, stopping them from doing what they're designed to do.
That tends to be the first thing people do, is take off the wing feathers so that they can't fly. They're not actually damaging the wing themselves, they're just cutting the feathers, well, hopefully. And they do regrow eventually, but it takes a year or two for them to come back completely. But yeah, it's the first thing people do because they don't want them to fly away.
That is so insane. What are the penalties like for persons who might be owning these birds without the proper permits, or even owning these birds and not taking care of them?
Okay, so we're trying right now not to actually scare people and say this is the penalty. We're trying to encourage them to come in and apply first. But we normally, if you were to charge a person the penalty because it's possession and you shouldn't have it in your possession any at all, then the penalties goes up to $10,000.
Wow.
So hence the reason we're trying to encourage people to come in and apply, as opposed to tell them the penalty is $10,000. It's up to $10,000. But that's the penalty. If you are found in possession and if you have a parrot that is severely damaged in the sense that it has psychological effects and
just
then
unkept.
yes, you can be charged that.
Wow. Even if you have the permit as well?
Even if you have the permit, because even one of the permit conditions, it says that we can and we will do routine checkups every so often so that we know that the parrots are still in healthy conditions, because it doesn't mean, and one thing that is important, that in the conditions of the permit, it also says that yes, you have a permission to keep the parrots, but it still belongs to the government of Belize because it's still one of our birds. So it's not solely yours, it still belongs to the government of Belize. I'm not sure if Nikki put a picture of it, but I always tell people, and I always take this picture, well, I normally take it out when I do outreach, and it's a picture of the pink parrot.
I did. Yes.
I'm not sure if she did put
it has
a picture.
been on screen, actually.
But there's a pink parrot.
Okay.
And that pink parrot, when we first went to confiscate it, when I told the officer we need to go and confiscate this parrot, he thought it was most people thought it was a new species of parrots, and it was a different species. It's not. It is a yellowhead parrot that eventually turned pink.
Why and how?
Why? Yeah.
Yeah, that is bad nutrition.
Okay.
It's basically, I don't know if you've ever had an indoor plant that turns yellow.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have the right light and the nutrients, then the pigment comes out of the leaves. And it's the same thing with the feathers. The feathers are a real indicator of health in a bird. Much like we have the ridges on our nails if we're sick.
Yeah.
You can see the diet. You can see if they've had too high a fat diet, because the feathers actually look oily.
Oh,
and if
wow.
they haven't had the right nutrition, all the color comes out of the feathers.
Okay, so I'm looking at enforcement at the end of this period, right? So right now, anyone can come in and go through the process of registering their birds, making sure that they're in compliance, right? But beyond this particular period, you go into full law enforcement,
Yes,
so
then
to
we
speak.
go. Yes, then we go into full law enforcement mode, and so hence the reason we're giving them the opportunity to come in. The deadline is the 31st of March. We've been hearing it to come in and apply. We haven't gotten that much applications. We haven't gotten that much applications.
Not good.
Which is either not good or maybe it's good, meaning that most people have already submitted an application, we will hope. And if that, well, then it's not good, because then once you pass that deadline, we're not going to accept any more applications.
Yeah.
We're actually making modifications to our actual legislation so that when the enforcement comes to that, it will be, the penalties will be higher than that $10,000.
Wow.
And we will be taking other measures. Hence the reason we're giving them this opportunity to come in and apply. And we set the deadline for the 31st of March because we want to avoid the new chick season.
Okay.
And we were trying to avoid that people go and poach these parrots, because we always talk about Guatemalans coming and poaching our scarlet macaws, but our Belizeans do it too as well. We had one right in front of Galen University, borrowing a ladder from the university so that they can poach the parrot in the tree that's right within the university compound.
But I have a question regarding that, though, because if a person, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how do you go about acquiring a parrot? If it's illegal to own, do you have to have a permit to sell parrots as well then? How does that work?
Because you can't, and you shouldn't sell it.
So how do they get it?
Exactly. So people poach them and go and sell them.
But
yes, that's exactly it.
It kind of puts you in a pickle then, as in the forest department, because we're not promoting poaching, but we know that people are still poaching, and so they're still going to own it somewhere or another. So it's like, well, if you're going to own it, at least have a permit so we could know that you own it and we know where you live so we could monitor you. Is that what's taking place?
Well, that's what we're trying to do now, and hence the reason I said in 2014 we said no more.
Yeah.
It's closed. We're going to do this, and we're going to stop this poaching because it's too much. But I will say we dropped the ball, that we didn't have our act together when we started to do that. We didn't know the magnitude of work that we would get when we did that. Now we do know what it takes, and we know how long an inspection will take. We know how many applications we have, so now we know that, and so we have our act together, so we can do better. But again, we are trying to avoid that. We don't want to people continue. Some people genuinely do get these because Maybe they fall a tree. The trees are, they didn't know that there are chicks inside. They fall, and some do report it, and some do hand it over, but some no. Some do keep it. And so it's not all of them that are poached intentionally, if you want to say, and not all of them are being sold, because some, again, fire. Due to fire, some are rescued due to fire as well. And so these are some of the things that are done. Sometimes we want to say that people have good intentions, that they see people selling them, and they say, well, instead of somebody else getting it, I will get it because I might be able to take care of it. Some have good intentions, some do relinquish it, but not all of them.
I have a question coming from a viewer here, and then I have to wrap things up after that. But there's a commenter saying, there's a woodpecker tearing up the woodwork around the roof of my workplace. We've tried physical metal deterrents, but still the problem persists. What can we do about that? I don't want the workmen to end up hurting the bird.
It's a problem. It's one of my biggest calls, that one and pigeons. If that caller would like to contact me directly, I can probably walk them through. I'd have to see the situation and see how that they could put some deterrents in place that might work. I have actually trained the woodpeckers around my house.
Ooh, can you tell me that? Because I have some too.
I used a trigger bottle of water and yelled at them, and it took me 2 days, and eventually it just needed the trigger bottle, and then I could yell from where I was sitting, and now they've stopped.
Okay, so what I want to do then is still share your number with this commenter online, or any number that we can reach out to you guys by to get further information.
Speaking of which, there is a hotline, right?
Yes, we do have a hotline for the Forest Department. It's 610-1524. You can reach us. That's for any illegal matter. It's not only wildlife, but it's any illegal forest-related matter. You can call it. It's 24/7. It's confidential. It has WhatsApp on it as well. So 610-1524. Even for the viewers that are seeing and want to apply, they can reach out to us through that number. We can send them the application. They can submit back that application through WhatsApp. So we don't have to do all the paperwork and emails, and we take forever. Through WhatsApp, you request the application, I send it, you send it back.
All right. Well, ladies, this has been a wonderful conversation. I definitely learned some stuff. And the work that you guys are doing are very important. And so we wish you guys all the best. Remember the date, the end of March. And after that, you would literally be owning a parrot illegally. Don't do that. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, the next conversation is tracking household spending trends with SIB.